right after your loved one dies. You are thrown into an alternate universe, or that's what it feels like. And after about a couple weeks to a month, the shock starts wearing off and you really feel the grief. It can be especially lonely because nobody feels it like you do. Your relationship was unique, and though others can be sad with you, they're not going to feel exactly what you do. You're going to have to walk it out, and no one else can do that for you. But the support of family and friends and other grief resources, it's invaluable. But how do you know which resource is best for you, and how do you know it's actually going to help? For the last 2 weeks, we talked about different kinds of grief support, including your family, your friends, and groups. Today, we're going to talk about coaching and counseling and which are needed when. Hey, friend. Welcome to the Grief to Great Day podcast. Do you feel like you're going crazy? Is the shower the only place for you to really cry? Are you surrounded by people, but you still feel all alone? Do you want to be the you were before your loved one died, but you have no idea how to get there? I'm Steph Cabanis, Southern by choice, wife, turtle triathlete, Jesus follower, and fellow traveler in the journey of grief. I too struggled to breathe, questioned God and my faith, and thought I would never be happy again. But God took my brokenness and He turned it into breakthrough. So if you're ready to understand how to navigate grief, lean into your faith and take just one step towards healing, then bring your ugly cry, get into a comfortable place, even if that's your bed right now, and let the healing begin. Girl, there's hope for your future. Come on in the house and join me on the couch or wherever you are comfortable. Yeah, I want to thank you for another milestone on the podcast side of things. We have hit over 2,000 downloads last week. You know, I began this journey at the end of December, and I'm so grateful that you guys keep listening. We're also in over 20 different countries. And just like when we hit over 1,000 downloads, there's going to be a prize at the end, so stay tuned. Okay, let's get to it. The verse of the day is Proverbs 18:4. A person's words can be life-giving water. Words of true wisdom are as refreshing as a bubbling brook. The wisdom you need now may come from one of those in your healing circle of family and friends, within groups, or through counseling and coaching. So, who did you think about and who did you decide on for your healing circle? Yes, I'm asking again. If you still haven't reached out, do it this week. And if you're not comfortable with it, it's fine because there are other ways that you can get help. As always, if this isn't something you're ready to do or you don't feel comfortable, it's okay. We also talked about groups, both faith-based and non-faith-based, in person and online. And if you have any questions about these or anything else we discuss, just feel free to email me or pop in the Facebook group. The link for both of those and everything else is in the show notes below and on grieftogreatday.com. Today we're going to talk about counseling and coaching, how to find them, and how to know if you need either or both. I'll begin with the general differences between counseling and coaching, and then we're going to get into grief coaching versus counseling. With counseling, when you go in, you're generally looking at the issue and the past. You want to look at the past and how to process past experiences. This is so helpful with healing past traumas that affect your present, which in turn will help you manage current circumstances like grief. Counseling can help you discover who you were created to be. Counseling is especially helpful and the better choice if you are in a crisis situation, like having thoughts of self-harm or suicide, dealing with recurring panic attacks, flashbacks, or recurrent nightmares. Now, you can come into coaching feeling fearful and anxious and isolated, but with coaching, we'll get into that a little bit now, you are looking more towards the future and focusing on steps toward a desired goal. Coaching is about making commitments and accountability and discovering what you were created to do. So if you are struggling, if you're feeling stuck, knowing there is more but not knowing how to get there, then coaching is a good choice. A quick comparison again is that counseling is for healing from past wounds, dealing with current crisis situations, and pursuing what you're created to be. The question here is, why did I? Coaching is more for getting unstuck, moving forward, growth, and pursuing what you created to do. The question is, how can I? Now, more specific to grief, and that's probably more of what you want to know, is, and I got this from the internet because I can over explain. So, a grief counselor focuses on your past and provides you with the necessary tools to explore unresolved feelings towards your relationship with your loved one who has died. Whereas a grief coach supports you moving forward from your loss and gives you practical steps to take. Grief counseling, another word for it is therapy, seeing a psychologist, seeing a psychiatrist. Counseling can be incredibly helpful. Counseling in general has been helpful in my life personally, and I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, so I'm a big advocate for counseling. I will share one less than good experience though. Before I returned to work at the hospital, I was required to see a psychiatrist because I had been on a leave of absence while I took care of Monica. The psychiatrist asked me how I was, and after an honest 5 minute share on my part, she just said, "Okay, well, do you need any anti anxiety medication?" I really wanted her to tell me if what I said sounded like I was okay or crazy or something. I said, no, can you tell me what to expect with grief? She said it was different for everyone, but that life would return to normal at some point. Well, I left the office with my release to return to work, but also anger and frustration. Maybe it was the grief, the overwhelm, but I felt like she didn't care and she was just getting paid to write me a note. I tell you that only to say that if the first person you go to isn't the right fit, then try another person. You don't have to go back to that person, but don't give up. Not everyone has been through grief, so it can become more theory based than practical help. There are amazing counselors and therapists out there who will make a tremendous difference in your grief journey. So, to find one of these amazing ones, I would say ask your friends or those people that you trust for referrals. This is really the best place to start. Or you can Google counselor, psychologist, therapist, psychiatrist near me. And if you specifically want a Christian, then include that in your search. And make sure they specialize in grief or loss. The good news is that counseling is usually covered by insurance, so you might just pay a copay or pay nothing at all. As an FYI, psychologists are not the same as psychiatrists. A psychologist will provide counseling and other resources, but they will not prescribe medication because they are not medical doctors. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor, and while they provide counseling, they can also prescribe medications. All right, so on to grief coaching. This one is a little more difficult to find. I feel like in my circle of friends, I had grief coaching like daily. It's not counseling, it's less formal, and it's more outcome driven. Grief coaching is where someone who has been through grief helps, supports, and mentors those who need help in their journey. People usually go into coaching because they have been through it and have a real understanding of how it feels and what really is helpful. If you've just lost a loved one, everything seems surreal or upside down. The world doesn't even look the same anymore, and you can feel like you're going crazy. If you don't know what to do next, coaching is incredibly helpful, even just one session. And you don't have to be brand new to grief either. You might just be in the place that you're ready to deal with it, or you want to get unstuck. The positives here are the less formal approach, so it's less pressure. And the fact that your coach understands the pain and confusion of grief, that's really good too to help you find direction. Now, I've done grief coaching while I worked at the hospital years ago, and I will be starting it again next month. Coaching is not formalized counseling, which some people may prefer. And the cost of a coaching session, while it's less than counseling, it's not covered by insurance. So if you're looking for a grief coach, contact your local hospice, or you can Google grief coach near me. If you're a Christian, again, I strongly suggest you find a Christian coach so the focus is on God and your purpose after loss. Always make sure that the coach has been through grief. To me, that's important because if not, it might be more generalized life coaching instead of practical help. And as a reminder, I'll be offering coaching beginning probably in May. If you want to be put on a wait list, just email me. The email is again in the show notes, or you can go to Grief to Great Day. Whew, it's a lot of information. So which one do you need? It depends on your situation. Coaching can help you unravel the crazy feeling of grief, can give you coping skills for the pain, help you understand what it is you're dealing with and what's to come, because the coach will walk it out with you. And if it's Christian grief coaching, it will be biblically based. Now, if you're experiencing anything I said, like feeling crazy through grief, needing coping skills, wanting to understand what it is you're going through, and you're dealing with addictions or self-harm or extreme isolation, then you need to seek out a counselor, therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. You can meet them in person, but you can also meet them online now. So when you're looking for counseling, make sure you see an LPC or a licensed professional counselor if they are not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. As a recap from the last 3 episodes, there are many different forms of help if you're grieving. So regardless of what you choose, you don't have to go it alone. They include books, videos, online support, family, friends, groups, coaching, and counseling. And I hope that sharing these options has made you feel a little bit better, put you in the right direction, and let you know that seeking help is the best thing that you can do. Now, again, the last 3 episodes had a lot of information to digest. So if you want any of the information in an outline form, just email me and I'll be glad to send that to you. Don't forget, we have a new Facebook community that you can join. It's the Grief Group for Christian Women. The link is in the show notes, or you can find it on the website. Your journey works. The 3 things I want you to do this week. Yes, 3. Number 1, we are going back to it. Make a decision to seek out some form of support and act on it this week. Again, it's not a requirement of your journey, but I promise it will help you from day-to-day living to sorting out some of the most confusing and overwhelming things that you're going to come across. Number 2, make sure you don't neglect the daily renewal of your mind. Praying, reading, and rising are so essential for daily life. But grief, it makes it even more important not to neglect. And lastly, here it is. As a thank you for listening to the podcast, for showing up, and for taking a step towards healing, because that's what you guys have been doing by listening to the podcast. Just email me the number 2000, since we're over 2000 now. And if you're the first email I receive, I promise, honor system here, I will do it fair. You will get a free Dying to Be Healed ebook. That's the book I wrote about Monica's crazy faith journey. The strength of her faith will inspire you. Remember, if you don't have a church home, you can visit my church, Opendoor, at opendoorchurch.com. And as always, keep on coming back to the house. Keep sitting on the couch and keep taking those steps, however small, towards your healing. Thank you for being here today, for showing up. If this podcast has given you hope, encouragement, or helped you in any way, share it with a friend, either in a text or on your social platforms. Also, please subscribe, rate, and leave a written review on iTunes. It's a huge blessing for me to know that you're out there. Lastly, and this is important, you are not alone. Connect with me on the Grief to Great Day website, the link is below, and sign up for our free newsletters. I want to be able to pray for you by name. Remember, Grief isn't something you're going to get over, but a great day is something you can get to.